Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first chapter of Beyond the Pitch by Token Allies. I'm Lucas Machiavelli, your host for today. And today we have an amazing speaker. When we first started talking about creating this show, um, it was showing a different perspective on builders on Web3, right? I was telling Danny just right now, sometimes on the Web3 ecosystem, it feels like we're only telling one part of the story, which is the project, the white paper, the roadmap, and everything. But sometimes, at least from our perspective, we felt like we were missing a key component, who was the person behind those projects, right? And it's content that is done in most of the industry, which is the entrepreneurship, right? And we felt like there was this big space on Web3. So we created this show called Beyond the Pitch, and our goal is to bring different entrepreneurship, successful people, amazing builders, and learn a little bit the story on the business side, then about the person, their entrepreneurship story, the challenges. So yeah, today we have Danny Friedman, a good friend of mine. We met, I think, almost a few years back, and we started doing a lot of stuff together. He came to my hometown in Argentina a few months back. He's doing a lot of stuff, and hopefully I'll be in Japan in the next few months. So, Danny, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, definitely, and yeah, looking forward to having you over here because I've been to Argentina 3 times last year already, so it's about time for you to come to Japan and check us out. Check all
I
the
will.
all of the Japanese people out and see how great it is out here.
I
Yeah,
will. I will be in
so
Japan.
yeah, please let me know, and we'll host you at the Zengate headquarters, Japan. So
Cool.
looking forward to that. Yeah, so thank you for having me, Lucas. My name is Daniel Friedman. I'm the founder and CEO of Zengate Global, the company that is currently building the Palmyra platform and the Palmyra ecosystem. And so that is our flagship ecosystem. And basically, Palmyra is a commodities trading, commodities focused ecosystem. And we're essentially looking to serve the underserved markets, provide market access where it does not exist, provide digitization. All these things, of course, done through blockchain technology, and essentially provide what we like to call opportunity inclusion. And again, this comes from our core beliefs that blockchain technology is the way it is a paradigm shifting technology that can bring that to places and to peoples that did not have this in the legacy world.
Awesome. And you've been working on the blockchain ecosystem, blockchain technology for a lot of years now. Now, what made you turn into entrepreneurship and starting your own project?
Yeah, so again, I guess many will know that I've been in Cardano since before it was an ecosystem, and so I was fortunate enough to be on the original team that launched Cardano. And so after it launched, my job switched from project manager of the pre-sale app, to basically building out the business development function at Input Output. And so throughout that time, I worked in a lot of different developing economies in different jurisdictions. I had the opportunity to work in Eastern Europe, to work in Southeast Asia. Do we did things in Africa? So we were everywhere where there's change and where there's a chance for opportunity to bring to people through blockchain technology and through Cardano. And so I really liked that aspect of the entire blockchain movement. I always admired the fact that we can make real change, that we can bring technology that is a solution to a problem that they have pretty much at every time. It's problem with access to whatever it is, markets, communication, connectivity, financial instruments. It's just a problem with access that blockchain technology solves many times. And so when it came time for me to kind of go off on my own, if I worked at IOG for over 7 years, and so it came time for me to do my own thing, and I wanted to kind of expand and build on what I've learned and all my experience in the ecosystem. So I decided that the best place for me to feel inspired to do what I was to basically do what I loved doing through this whole time is to work in emerging markets and to continue the work that I was doing in emerging markets, bringing blockchain solutions to emerging economies, bringing access to emerging economies, and bringing this opportunity inclusion. And so I started Zengate, and the name Zengate basically has a meaning that goes back over 20 years. That goes back to the dot-com boom and the dot-com crash. Just to go through it really quickly. So I was my first, I guess, excursion into the professional field of IT and programming and development was in the late 90s. And so, as some of you might know, the late 90s, early 2000s saw the dot-com boom, which was basically the mass adoption of the internet. And after the boom, of course, came the dot-com crash caused by an overstimulation of the market. So essentially, there were too many um, uh, parties taking advantage of the buzz of this internet, worldwide internet expansion and revolution, and they were creating vaporware businesses and then going public with them. And at one point, anything that had .com next to it pretty much would go. You take an IPO, and it would just skyrocket. But eventually, the bubble burst, and caused a dot-com crash. And so this was several years of really tough markets and really tough for technology to develop. Now, when I was in the aftermath, I still thought, you know what, many dismissed it and they said the dot-com boom was just a fad. In the internet is not really that what it's cracked up to be. It's not going to be that big, blah, 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 like all these different things that came out. I didn't feel that way. I felt that there was something monumentally revolutionary. The world has changed. And I felt that right before the crash, I was on the cusp of basically being involved in some things. I was really ready to be involved in some things that really truly made a difference on a global scale. And this difference was basically going to be, and I felt it could be my life's work. And in my case, one that's that when I'm doing my life's work, I feel at peace. I feel content and I feel zen. And so essentially, when I came up with the name Zen Gate, I said, okay, a company that holds that name is going to be a company that for me will be a gate to the Zen of creating something that is globally impactful and is my life's work. And so that's where the name came from. And I sat on that name for over 20 years actually, and I was basically waiting for an idea and a business to really be worthy of that name. And so back in 2021, when I started Zengate Global, I essentially came up with this idea from my work with Cardano, which inspired me enough to say, yes, this is the one. And so that's how it came to be. That's how Zengate Global was born, and that's how the Palmyra platform was born, because that was the vehicle that I was going to use. And then, of course, my co-founders that came on board very shortly after, and everybody that's on my team now are using to create this paradigm shifting change.
You said something so powerful, and I've been thinking about this concept for a while, and I didn't have a word for it. I used to call it purpose, but you said your life work, right? I think it's something so interesting, and it encapsulates that concept encapsulates perfectly what I'm thinking is this is our life work, right? I imagine you've been like probably one of the founders of Cardano. You've been as a when it was a startup just beginning, and it's work that is probably or hopefully it's gonna outlive you, right? The same with Cengate. These are so powerful things you're mentioning the .com era, and I have follow up question on the .com if you don't mind. What do you think there are the similitudes and the difference between the .com era and now the blockchain boom era?
So, of course, the similarities are, well, the worldwide paradigm shifting technology that is disrupting the legacy world. Just like the dot-com boom was a disruption of the legacy communication and information access ethos. The blockchain movement is doing the same to the financial and, of course, actually just not just finances, because a lot of people concentrate on finances, but it's really about how we approach building technology in the 21st century. It's a disruptive, decentralized way that is more sustainable because it eliminates single points of failure, which is why it's so powerful. Why decentralization and democratization is more powerful than centralization is because it relieves single points of failure so that the ecosystem can grow. The same with Cardano. I strongly believe that at this point, regardless of what happens to the Cardano Foundation, regardless of what happens to IOG or Emergo or any of the other entities in the ecosystem will live on. And that is true decentralization, and that is powerful, and that is something that was not available even 15 years ago. This paradigm was not available 15 years ago, but it is available to us now, and it is so powerful that it's got literally a community of millions. That is huge. Now, the dot-com boom also did that. The dot-com boom also changed the way we perceive information, access to information, connectivity, and the way you connect to the world. So those are the similarities as well. You connect to you have access to places and to things and to vehicles that you did not have before, many of which are in the financial field, way to create wealth, to reduce dependency on centralized legacy banking cabals and financial cabals. So that is very similar. Now, of course, there's also the hype that is also very, very similar to the dot-com boom, and we have to be careful with that because the hype really reminds me of the IPO craze. Now it's the ICO, well, now whatever it is, but back then it was the IPO craze, and our time was the ICO craze. Then it was the NFT craze. Then it was like all these different things. And while the technologies themselves are actually quite useful, the culture that was kind of surrounding them and driving them up was this of hype, and it's a bubble, and many a times these bubbles burst because it's not sustainable. Without substance, it's not sustainable. Vaporware is never sustainable, and so that's also eerily similar in some ways. I can't say it's completely the same, but it is similar. So we have to be cautious on that. Now, I think the difference here is the democratization and the decentralization. That's one of the biggest differences. The other one is, again, you are changing the infrastructure of like the core thinking behind infrastructure, and not just banking, financial infrastructure, of course. You're changing the thinking behind it, but you're also changing the thinking behind, say, data infrastructure and how you deal with, for example, hosting or insurance or ownership of different assets. Like, for example, things like STOs. I mean, this was not available to us. Of course, there were similar technologies back in those days, but not like this. Another big piece of it is community. Many of these things right now, unlike back then, even though there was a way to connect, the community was just not as powerful and as connected as it is now. And for obvious reasons, this is 25 years later. So, of course, our communication mediums are much more advanced. Our devices are much more advanced. Back then, we didn't have smart devices. Back then, the Nokia flip phone was the height of portable information technology. I had the first internet phone back in, I think, 2001. and the thing was literally, a black and white LCD screen. The phone cost me some obscene amount of money, like $400 or something, but back then. And connecting was again obscene. So I actually never actually really used it that much because it was just really kind of useless. So that's the difference, the community part, the what actually how things are being changed, and really the infrastructure that is being built. So those are the main things that I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a change of paradigm on how we decide to do stuff. My main concern would be as new players come in, if that culture can be preserved. I'm having a slight feeling that it's not being preserved, but at least there are some actors, people that have been here since the beginning, that are pushing for that, are constantly pushing for the values of blockchain, right? Decentralization, immutability, censorship resistance. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of things that make you think that the blockchain and behaves similar to the dot-com bubble. But while we remain focused on the values, I think we are generally on a good track, right? But then you see all these meme coins or fluctuating billions of dollars out of nowhere, and it just makes you think like, oh, what
Well,
are we
it's
doing?
not, but the thing is, it's not out of nowhere. I mean, that's what people don't
Hmm.
realize. It's just transfer of wealth. It's
Yeah.
not creation of wealth, it's transfer of wealth. So
Hmm.
you're transferring somebody else's wealth to somebody else. In a and in a bit of a in an unsustainable way. Because transfer of wealth, of course, is you know, it's a process. It's a concept that's been around way before crypto.
Yeah.
Uh, but there is no we're lacking because our discipline is so lax with things like meme coins, where there's too many stories of people putting in $100 and becoming millionaires or whatever.
Hmm.
That people forget the core concept of how these things work. And I mean, the world still works this way. This is why the whole hype is unsustainable, is because you know the old saying, it takes money to make money.
Hmm. Yep.
This It's still the same. It's still the same. It takes money to make money. To make sustainable income, you have to invest. You have to invest a equally proportionate amount, because without that, I mean, why is it so kind of novel for people to make this much money from such little investment? Because it's not normal. Because
Hmm.
it's not supposed to happen like that. ROIs aren't supposed to be 1,000x in a week
Yeah.
in the normal world. I mean, it happens, but it's not a an MO. It's not the MO of the market. So to expect that is lack of discipline. And I think that we as an industry have to stop it, and we have to realize that we need to be more disciplined about understanding how wealth is created, and how wealth is sustained in a sustainable way.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now that we were talking about valuations, and I want to talk now about serious valuations. We are hosting right now a sale of the Palm token, part of the ecosystem of Zengate. How was your story on securing funding? Right. You can either tell that from, if you want, to the private aspect, from a public sale. How was your story? What were your challenges? What did you learn from those experiences?
Oh, well, you know, um, if you're not, if you're the light-hearted, or whatever the expression is, if you're of the faint-hearted, do not raise in a bear market. Uh, we started really raising money in a bear market. So I started the company in 21, and 22 was basically the start of the pits of the bear market. Um, it was tough. It was super tough. The first year and a half, it was super tough. Um, I had to spend quite a lot of my own personal assets, and again, sell a lot of my assets in the pits of a bear market at, I had to sell eight at like 20 some cents to pay the bills and to make sure that the company is running. Um, but to me, even from the financial standpoint, because I believed and still believe, obviously, in what we're doing, I was saying to myself, okay, so what is just from the financial standpoint? Okay, I sell my ADA at 30 cents because I need to have $10,000 to do something or something like that, right? I need $10,000 to sponsor a trip and build out a prototype. Okay. Um, Now, okay, so right now this data is probably at is like a 20x, 30x up potential. So what my opportunity loss is a 30x from of my ADA savings from all-time high. And again, this is just kind of like really running numbers. It doesn't mean that I'm going to just like wipe it out or anything like that, but you just start thinking about it. You start running numbers in your head. Okay. So right now I'm at like the up potential here is like 20, 30x. Okay. What is the up potential of me investing this right now in my company? It's way more than that. So that's why I spend it now. I don't sit on it. I don't say, oh, my ADA, oh man, I remember it was $3 and something and now it's 30 cents and I'm gonna lose. Like, no, yeah, I mean, it was a little bit like, no, I wish, the only thing is I wish it was a little higher so that I would have more money to play with to invest in my business.
Yeah.
But that was tough, that was, and it was eight of that, I didn't get any allocation from the pre-sale, even though I was in the middle of it. I wasn't clear for it, because I'm a US citizen. So I couldn't get an allocation. And so all the ADA that I had was actually, I just bought at different times. I bought ADA literally at launch. Um, I cashed in. I think almost an entire Bitcoin at that point. Bitcoin at that point was about $4,000.
Hmm.
Um, and so I cashed that in and bought ADA on Bittrex. After that, so like without going too much into it, I accumulated this over a course of several years, and I held on to it for over a course of several years. And to have to part with it like that was kind of a bit of melancholy, but also I was thinking, no, no, this, there you can never time the market, but I can properly time opportunity, and the
Wow.
opportunity was then. The opportunity was then for me to do what I wanted to do, and so I went and I sold the ADA and paid for prototyping Palmyra, paid for the office that we had, paid for trips that we had to take, to Dubai and to all these different places to do business, to talk to investors, to do all this stuff that needed to be done. Then, of course, there was the fundraising. VCs, and it wasn't because we were building on Cardano. It's just VCs are VCs, right? And every time you'd speak to a VC about this kind of stuff, they give you this like glassy blank look, like, okay, so is it a marketplace? I'm like, no, it's a trading platform. Um, yes, marketplaces don't do well. Like it's not a marketplace, it's a global trading platform. I mean, you know, so actually we didn't raise any money from any VCs. We didn't. And after a while, I just, after several meetings, I told Sam, my co-founder, I said, Sam, I don't want to talk to any more VCs right now because it's a waste of my time. I will not let them waste any more of my time, give me blank looks, idiotic questions. and like I said, it's not like we weren't pitching it right. I mean, we pitched it well enough for the community to get behind us. So it's obvious that the message was getting across. Is just the type of VCs that we were dealing with just did not have that clear vision. They wanted a new DEX, they wanted a new NFT collection, they wanted a new DeFi protocol or something like that, right? So that's what they're looking for. They're not looking for a global trading, an RWA tokenization global trading platform that Palmyra is. And this is back in 22, 23, before RWAs were a buzzword.
Hmm.
So after that, I mean, literally, to get to the first, I mean, you know, to get to the first sustainable amount of money in the bank, or not in the bank, in the wallet, in
Yeah.
the piggy bank. We had to raise $5,000 at a time. 5,000, 10,000, couple of thousand. And yeah, it was just nonstop, 5,000 here, 10,000 here, this space for this space for that. Of course, we didn't take any salaries or anything like that, so we weren't paying ourselves. So we had to pay for our own, to sustain ourselves and sustain our families. And so that was tough, and really getting this thing ready for the first push, the IDO last year, the initial distribution offering. That was also tough. It took a while. It took resources. It took a lot of people kind of putting their faith on the line here, and people like Theo, for example, who did a lot of this stuff out of love,
Yeah.
and he just made it happen. And getting this stuff ready, and putting out the right materials, talking to the community, communicating, all these different things. They were tough. These things are tough when you don't have money. And yeah, but you just have to keep pushing. You just have to keep pushing. And to me, like the way I thought about it always was, so I have no I one thing I never had was any doubt in my mind that we would succeed. Like, it just never, failure never came across my mind. It was just never even I mean, even remotely an option for me. And I always told that to Sam. I said, "Look, Sam, it's like there is no failure here. It's impossible. Like, this is the one. So if this is the one, then how do we tweak the formula to make it work?" It was all about, like, okay, how do we tweak? We need to course adjust. We need to tweak a little bit. We need to move this here. We need to move this there, because we know where we have to go. We know where it's going. Success is like over here, right? We have success. It already exists. We just need to figure out a road to it. And so that's what we just kept doing. We just kept grinding at it, building prototypes, building up a community, and having, just doing our raises, and one thing led to another, and we're here, right here. We're in the final leg of the public sale. It's going really, really well. The communities can come out strong and support. Um, we're getting a lot of engagement from the community. They're really they're really engaged in the business that we're doing, which we love. We're about a month away from going TGE. We have exchanges signed up. We have DEXs signed up. We have the Palm DAO about ready to go. We have all these different things. We have rolled out 2 new products in the past year. We're rolling out another one in the next couple of months. It seems like it's moving like butter, but it was tough, man. It was the first year and a half. It was tough.
Well,
So, but like I
you,
said, failure was never an option. Just wasn't.
man, you done and accomplished amazing things. I've seen you work firsthand. I've seen your team work, and I think that's more important sometimes to see how your team works. And they're amazing. They're so passionate. I've seen all you did in Argentina with just a few weeks, a few months, and you're amazing. I see Sengate going even bigger, and I think your story will inspire many others on the ecosystem. So yeah, this has been all for all. Thank you so much, Danny. It means a lot that you are our first guest, and hopefully we'll get to talk again in a year or so, and you can tell us um, what has been the progress in the past year. So thank you everyone for coming and hearing the first episode of Beyond the Pitch, and see you on the next one.
Thank you so much for having me,
Bye.
and yeah, everyone have a good day.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Beyond the Pitch. We hope you enjoy learning about our guest journey and the real world value they are bringing in the Web3 space.
Before we go, we would like to share a little bit about Token Allies. Token Allies is the first decentralized VC on Cardano. We are on a mission to democratize investments and build upon the success of traditional venture capital. Only this time, we are focusing on disintermediation, decentralization, and complete transparency.
By putting power in the hands of our investors, we are creating a more inclusive environment where individuals can make their own decisions. And for the companies we invest in, it means having a partner totally aligned with their growth and impact objectives.
We invite you to follow our journey with Token Allies. And if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and share this episode with your network. We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and you can always reach us directly for questions or collaborations.
Thank you again for watching Beyond the Pitch. Stay tuned for our next episode, where we will continue exploring the most exciting stories in blockchain, AI, and beyond. See you soon.